Hey YouTube, back this week for my next weekly. Here to drop a knowledge bomb on you guys. Got lots of trombone stuff to talk about today. I had a guy ask for a video about endurance and extreme registers, and that's all he said, so I'm going to interpret that my own way and go over how I work on extreme registers. I've had videos that work on this stuff otherwise, and I think I'm just gonna put it all into one video and make it a little bit shorter and just kind of introduce some new concepts. So here goes. I have three main things about playing in basically any register, but in extreme registers. First thing is you need to play in those registers a lot. There's no way around this. You can't just for instance, lots of people are like, play in your high register, it'll help your low register. Yes, having the focus that it takes for the high register will help the low register, and playing the low register will help your air, and even though high register doesn't take very much air, which is true, you don't need as much air to play in the high register, it still helps. Yeah, it kind of crosses over, but you really just have to be able to play in all of them all the time anyway. So, and you have to work on them specifically to make them better. You can't just play pedals for 3 weeks and be like, oh, now I have a double B flat. It doesn't work that way. You really just have to sit down and be like, I'm going to work on my range above high B flat and get it better, and that's how it gets better. And you have to just keep working on it. You have to play that stuff a lot. And it kind of sucks, but there's no way around it. Inside of some points there. Yes, I just said that. No excuses is the last thing I've written there. I know sometimes it sucks to play high or it sucks to play low, and you're like, oh, but I can't do that. No excuses. You have to be able to do it. I mean, lots of people who play bass trombone, I see this a lot, especially on Facebook. Guys are like, oh, I don't play above middle C. And it's like, you're not a very good bass trombonist then, because you have to do that. I just played several quartets where I had to play up high G and stuff. I mean, it's necessary. In my solo rep, I have high B flats, probably the highest note. In my upcoming recital, I have several B flats. I think there might be a C in there somewhere. Man, I hope not. I don't like C's. But there's high B's and big orchestral excerpts that are asked for all the time. There's high A's in the Frank Symphony in D. I mean, you just have to be able to play high. And it's not really cool to be like, oh, I only play low. And maybe if you're tenor trombonist, be like, oh, I only play high. I mean, sometimes you can get away with that, but it's not really cool. I mean, I'd rather sit next to someone who can play the whole register of the instrument really well than sit next to someone who can only do one thing. And remember that you need to always sound good. But when you're first doing something, if you're like, oh my god, high B, it sounds so bad, don't forget that when you play anything for the first time, when you're learning how to do stuff or when you're just really working how to make it better, it's not always going to sound good. So don't worry about things being absolutely perfect from the start. I mean, I just went through this in the last few months, having just really crappy range above high F. I was getting double buzzes all over the place and stuff. I was getting so mad, but I really had a breakthrough, and now I don't have that anymore, and now it sounds good. So just realize this stuff takes time, and you're not going to sound good from the first, but always try to strive for that good sound. And I don't know why I keep emptying my spit. If you're not sure about positions, say a low D, you're like, what position is that in? And that answer would be really just straight up fifth with a F valve, or first with F and D tuning. If you're not sure about those things, make sure you're playing with a tuner to know exactly where they are. And if you're hitting everywhere in the slot because it's the low register and you can do that and you can just go anywhere, play them up in octave so you know exactly where you are, because it's harder to bend them when you're up in octave. Just make sure you're not playing things out of tune. It's really easy to play the wrong positions, especially below low B flat, and that's just going to hurt you in the long run. I've even had issues with that recently. I realized my C was too far out, and my B was not far enough out, and I've had to like just completely change my mindset about those two notes. So know that that's going to happen throughout your whole career probably. You'll be like, well, this new horn is totally different, and high G is literally in first position. Woo! Or it's actually in second. I mean, it can go both ways. So play with the tuner and know where your notes are. Alright, so big point number 2. Point 1 was playing those registers a lot. That kind of encompasses the rest of the stuff. But point 2 is play exercises in those registers. So I've played a lot of these in the weeklies before this, but let's see what's the first one I had. Oh, Vernon things. Okay, this is actually a Jacobs thing that's in the Vernon book. I've played this before. I think I played it last week. But this connects every register to every other register. And they go like this. So that's a blow. I don't know exactly what those are called. They're called like whirlybirds or something in the Jacobs book. I don't know. They're in the Vernon book and it's just a number. They're on page like 21 or something. Those are great because you play this nice long legato flowing line up an octave, then up an octave, then up an octave, like as high as you can go, and then all the way down to as low as you can go. They're only written in 2 octaves in the book, but I just do them throughout the entire register. And I've been playing that one in B because a lot of times we play stuff in B flat and we go down, and you never get to like low B when you go down from B flat. So I like to like scoot things a little bit up from B flat. Like I'll do C, or I haven't done D flat. I'm not that crazy yet. So there's one exercise you can do. It encompasses the whole range. I'll talk about that later. Flexibility things. So obviously lip slurs are a big deal. You need to do them. I mean, I do a bunch of my warm-up. I have not been doing really any other than my warm-up. I probably should be. A good book for that is the Brad Edwards Lip Slur Melodies. I'm going to be buying that soon, and I'll let you guys know how it is. But one thing that Sam Burtis, who's a famous New York freelancer, I mean, I don't know about famous, but he's really good, and he drops lots of knowledge bombs on us on the internet. He has a bunch of stuff about flexibilities and not starting from the bottom. There's an analogy to singing, which I also do, about hauling chest, where you just sing really high in your chest voice, which is, you know, like what a lot of musical singers do, and they'll just be like, ah! And it's just like, does not sound good. Especially women, you can hear it in Frozen. It sounds like crap. Don't do that. And that goes for playing too. You don't want to be like taking the same setting you have for low B flat and trying to use that for high B flat. I mean, obviously you want to be able to play them at the same time if you have to play like a big line up to high B flat, but you're not going to be using the exact same setting. You want to like slightly change as you go up, ever so slightly. Don't like think about it or take the horn off the mouth or the horn off the face or anything. But don't be like trying to haul that all the way up there with this like giant big low B flat sound, because it's not gonna work and it's just gonna hold you back in the long run. So his thing was just like starting flexibilities from the top note instead of the bottom note. And I've been doing that in the Brad Edwards warm-up that I've linked like 10 times in the past. I've just been doing every flexibility in that warm-up, but starting from the top and going down instead of starting from low B flat and going up. And it's made a huge difference. It's awesome. There are some of these in the Vernon book, and I'll just play the 1 and B flat. And they're already written this way, so you don't have to flip them around. Just do stuff like that, because then you get that nice, clear, pinging high B flat feeling. And then you just kind of bring that down through the range, staying in tune, of course. And you kind of open up as you get it lower a little bit, like not too much, but you keep that focus. It feels really good. So play flexibility starting from the top note. Alright, articulations, like scales and whatnot. So you can't just legato your way around all the time, even though I wish we could. You have to play articulated stuff sometimes. And I have scales right here. Make sure you know your scales. Hopefully most of you know your scales by now. Major, all 3 minors, chromatic, probably some of the modes. I mean, I'm not super up on those because I'm not a jazz musician. Not that that's an excuse, of course, but you know your scales and play them throughout the entire register. Don't just play them from low B flat to middle B flat and just play all your scales there, because that doesn't really help you. You're not going to be able to play all your scales there for the rest of your life. Play scales throughout the whole register, and I'll just play the same thing in the Vernon book, but articulated. He has that in there somewhere. So it's basically the same thing as the flexibility, but articulated. And that's actually a little bit harder. At least it was for me when I first started doing those. I was like, holy crap! It was really hard to articulate cleanly throughout 2 octaves. So, try and work that in your warm-up or into your daily routine after warm-up. Alright, so that ends point number 2, which is play exercises in those registers. Point number 3 is playing music in those registers. And I brought this up a lot in like my last 5 weeklies, I swear. Play music in all registers. And you need to do it. And that's how it works. And if by play music it means play your solo pieces that you're working on for festival or for your juries or recitals, then that's what I mean. I mean, for right now, I'm playing I've got 5 pieces up for recitals and auditions and stuff, and so I'm just working on those day in, day out, and they cover the whole range of the instruments, so I'm not too worried about, playing music in those registers. The issue is if, maybe you're in college and you're in 5 ensembles and you're just playing tons of ensemble stuff with the orchestra, and you're kind of playing the same range all the time, you're only working on one jury piece and you don't practice it that much. Maybe you should work on more music in all your registers, just to buff up on it. The first thing I have is Bordonis. These are the easiest ones to play up and down octaves, play them in the right octave. Most Bordonis go up to high A, high G, something like that. They're not too high, but they also don't go very low. I think the lowest note is B flat. Might be a couple A's in there or something, G's. Nothing super low. So I like to play these down an octave as a bass drum bonus. And I'll play number 2, just like the first few measures. That was alright. I'll decide to take an extra breath in there. This should just be 2 phrases, but it's down an octave, so it's harder. So, those are something bass trombonists should do all the time. Also, tenor trombonists, do it. Play down an octave. I know it sucks, especially with no 2 valves. I don't care. Play it. No excuses. Learn false tones. Play C in last position. Pull to E with your F attachment. You need to learn how to play those kind of registers. Plus, this is one of those things where it really helps all your other playing. You'll play this stuff down an octave and you'll be like, that was hard, that sucked. And then you'll play it in the right octave and you'll be like, whoa, it's so much easier. Just because the phrasing is like, oh wow, now I can play all these actual phrases. Because they're like 8 measures long, and when you play down an octave, they're like a measure long. Just get to it. And of course, bass trombonists do it too. It's really necessary to get that lyrical, flowing sound in the lower register. And also, if you're bass trombonist or tenor trombonist, if you're feeling adventurous, play those down 2 octaves, so they're all pedals. I don't think I'm going to play it because I'll just embarrass myself, but like pedal C to pedal A, I mean, the whole thing is almost pedals, basically. That's really hard to connect those kind of notes, but then you'll play those and you'll go up an octave to the lower one, you'll be like, wow, this is easier. So it all kind of connects. Anything you can find, basically. So it doesn't have to be stuff that's even written for trombone, or it can be written for another like type of trombone. I played I'm Getting Sentimental Over You last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, something like that. I'm gonna make sure I'm not running out of time. But, you know, play whatever you can find. So this is I'm Getting Sentimental Over You in the correct key. Chip on that. Woo! Say I get red there a little bit. It's a little harder on bass than it is on tenor. So play something that's really high too. That's music. That one's really easy because you have to articulate like 3 notes in the entire thing because it's all flexibility basically. And of course for tenor trombonists, that's like a standard, especially for jazz kind of guys. And there's lots of videos out there. I put the music in last week's or 2 weeks ago's Weekly, so you can find that if you want. That's really fun for me, though, because I don't get to play a lot of cool stuff way high like that. Alright, so I don't run out of time here. My last thing here is no excuses in the third point. My last thing is no excuses. So don't ever be like, well, I played tenor trombone, so I don't ever have to play lower than such and such note. And I already talked about this, but I don't care. Just don't let yourself get into that mindset. I play bass trombone, but I don't really know. I want to be able to play in any register that's asked for, in anything. And I don't care, maybe I don't have the right horn. Maybe someone wants me to play lead trombone, and I'll be like, well, that sucks, but I'll play it on this, I guess. And it won't be the right sound, but I'll be able to nail the notes to the wall. And maybe you show up to a gig and you have your straight tenor trombone, and they'll be like, well, can you play these bass parts? Be like, yes, I don't care that this isn't the right instrument. You need to have that kind of mindset where you don't care that you have a tenor trombone and you have to play low or you have to play way higher than you think you have to play. Just think you can play any part of the instrument and work on those registers. And, well, I guess that was my last point. Don't compromise. Just because you play bass trombone or tenor trombone or euphonium or whatever, don't compromise. Be able to play anything, anywhere, anytime. Alright, so that's enough of me yelling at you guys. Give me more suggestions for next week's Weekly, and I'll see you guys next time.